Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Only Football Podcast. Tonight, we will be doing our Week 15 predictions. We're also going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be looking at the playoff picture based on our predictions, who's in, who's not at the end of Week 15, and of course, end it all off with the little chives with Kyle. Let's get it.
What is going on? I was not doing any smacking ass backstage.
He was.
My name's Kyle and that's Rick.
I'm Rick. That's Kyle.
Today we're going to do our week 14. Today we're going to do our week 15 predictions.
We don't do math here on Only Football.
We don't do math, names. I'm not sure what it is that we do.
Do-do.
Say do. Look, the playoffs are 4 weeks. We have 4 weeks to define what our season's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about teams in the hunt or on the bubble, I'm really nervous, and for the first time in a while, because Denver normally plays in the second half slot, so I got to wait till like the end of the episode. We're actually going to get that game pretty early, but let's not jump the gun. We're going to go in order, and I guess I'll start by saying there's a triple header on Saturday. There's going to be 3 football games on Saturday, with the first game, by the way, Raiders just destroyed the Chargers.
Dominated.
It was disgusting. It was absolutely atrocious. But we're going to start with the Bengals, who are kind of hot right now. Jake Browning's playing some good football, taking on the Vikings. And Rick, I think Jake Browning is a really good quarterback potentially. I'm not willing to just say he's a fluke. And I think the Bengals have so much talent on that team that even getting a quarterback playing above mediocre shows you that this team is ready to win a Super Bowl. And I'm not willing to say that Jake Browning can't do what Nick Foles did for the Eagles.
I'm ready to say that. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't think that's going to happen. Look, Jake Browning, what he's done the last couple of weeks to get dubs, good on him, man. He's been playing really well. And I feel like there's backup quarterbacks who come into systems that can immediately, if the starter goes down, can immediately make an impact. You know, Jake Browning, we're seeing do that. We've seen Brock Purdy do that last year going into the playoffs. And you really have to look at the coaching. You have to look at the offensive scheme. You look at like the success and who's ahead of them to kind of, I guess, define that success. And Jake Browning's having a lot of great success because, one, you know, the system itself and the playmakers around him are awesome. 2, he's got Joe Burrow there to help him kind of go through that game planning. And so I think Jake Browning benefits from a lot of that. He was, I think, University of Washington, didn't really get any sort of consideration in the draft. I think he was unsigned as a undrafted free agent. But he's doing really well. While I think he's playing really well, I don't know if he's Super Bowl Nick Foles type of well, but he's definitely got the weapons, and the defense does seem to be improving as well for the Bengals. They're playing a Vikings team whose defense is and has been on the up and up. Although that defense does let up a lot of points sometimes, they haven't been as bad as they were early in the season or as bad as last year when the Vikings were winning games by like 3 to 7 points because of their defense, right? The one thing that the Bengals, I think, have going for them in this game is that the Vikings are starting Jaron Hall, I believe. Nick Mullins is their second stringer, and the Pastronaut as their emergency third quarterback.
Wait,
So
no, Mullins is starting.
is it Mullins starting and Jaron Hall? I thought Jaron Hall was starting.
No, Kevin O'Connell named Mullins the starter.
Oh, okay. Let me just, because I thought I read something differently. But if you're saying that, then totes my
I'm
goats.
trying to see.
Yep, 100%. You are correct. Mullins is starting at the quarterback position. Yeah, I was wrong. So they got the astronaut and at their emergency quarterback at third string. Nick Mullins has jumped around from team to team. I think he's been on 3 or 4 teams. Started off with San Francisco. Not really someone that you count on to win games, and kind of like in this case, one of the ones you go to when you are in need of a quarterback in a tough spot. I've got the Bengals winning this one. I've got the Bengals taking a dub against the Vikings at home. The way Jake Browning has played, really the way he's played with his weapons is something we mention a lot, is like, what does the quarterback do with the weapons around him? You could throw in all these Pro Bowl types of guys. What does the quarterback do? Can he get it to them? Yes. If so, success. And that's what Jake Browning's been able to do. I'm taking the Bengals, and they're going to go 8-6 after week 15.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Nick Mullins, I don't know if he's going to be an upgrade or not. Like, he provided a spark, but I mean, it's like a spark was just getting a field goal in a 0-3 game. Like that's not that impressive. Like that's like taking a rock and accidentally throwing it and seeing a little spark and thinking you can make a fire now. It's like, no, you're going to have to do a lot more. And the Bengals are in a conundrum right now, because what are they supposed to do with this bum Joe Burrow now that Jake Browning has exploded into one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL? I mean, Joe Burrow might not even have a job anymore. I see the way
Settle down. Settle down.
I don't know. What do you do with Joe Burrow? Do you just trade him? Do you eat the $872 million dead cap and just cut bait? But one thing is for sure, the Bengals are definitely in a better position at the quarterback position to win this game. And I'm right there with you. I'm taking the Bengals, and it's interesting because if we're right and the Bengals win this game and Jake Browning has another good game, like, we're going to have an actual conversation about this.
Oh, I 100% agree. Again, I don't think
not Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow is definitely staying. I think it becomes interesting for Jake Browning looking for a job, either staying in the Bengals or looking for a possible starter role to one of those teams in the quarterback carousel, if you will.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I said that sarcastic, but I didn't mean it sarcastic. The Steelers in the second game are taking on the Colts. Colts have been surprisingly good this year. Their offense is doing really good. Their defense is sus. I mean, you can't really rely on it. You can't trust it. I think there's an overall feeling that the Steelers are going to win this game, but I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah, I am also going to take the Colts in this one, just because their offense is way better than anything the Steelers have been able to put together. And this is after firing Matt Canada, right? We talked about how, can they do it 2 weeks in a row? And if they can, right, then we're starting to look at Matt Canada. The firing of Matt Canada is more of like okay, this is probably saving the season, because the Steelers have a winning record, man. They still have a winning record, like, even though they've gone through some issues. Now, we also got to look at Kenny Pickett's out with an injury. You got Mitch Trubisky starting. Mitch Trubisky looked really bad last week, and you heard the boos from the fans too. I don't know if Mitch Trubisky is going to be able to get a dub in Indianapolis, even with however many weapons the Steelers have on offense, right? You got Deontay Johnson, who's been back for a couple weeks now. Jaylen Warren and even Najee Harris have become a nice little duo there in the backfield, but it's tough to trust this offense. Really, the only thing that you kind of have hope for is, you mentioned it, right? The Colts defense, and how pretty porous it's been in terms of scoring on opposing offenses. It's just been letting everything through. And even though the Colts came off a really bad loss last week, I'm also taking the Colts in this one, because the offense is going to be much, much better. I think they're looking at the playoff picture right now and being like, we're in it, or we're close to being in it. We need this momentum to build up to take this in a sense, lost season that a lot of people were expecting, myself included. And let's make it something positive, right? Like, let's go into next season with our starting quarterback, who is pretty damn good in the games that he played, and with the added bonus of, we made the playoffs last year. We are that good of a team, right? Like, let's start the momentum of these last 4 weeks of the season, and let's just get something going. Let's see if we can make the playoffs, right? Like, it's just a boost in general, right? You talk about Jonathan Taylor and his contract status. He's coming back. Imagine him going to the playoffs. Like, that's going to be awesome for this entire team. Gardner Minshew. But I'm going to take the Colts at home. They're going to move to 8-6 in the AFC playoff picture. And I believe, from what I'm seeing right now, they're the 7 seed. So I think they stay in the playoff picture if they win this one. But I'm taking them to win at home against the Steelers.
Yeah, in the aside from everything you said, which is all true, the Steelers also are the more banged up team right now. Najee Harris is banged up. Isaac Sumuluo, which is their guard. Landon Roberts didn't practice this week, and nose tackle Canu Brenton. Defensive lineman Cameron Hayward, safety DeMonte Casey. Outside linebackers Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt are all dinged. The last two are TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith are in concussion protocol, but the Steelers are definitely going to go into this game less than 100%.
And defense, a lot of them on the defense.
A lot of defense. A lot of those players are like core players in what's his, Steve Spagnuolo. He's the defensive coordinator there, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Or no, I think it's Gus Bradley, actually.
I'll look it up.
Okay, thanks. But yeah, I mean, you don't have your core players, and you're trying to build some momentum coming off of losses to the 2-win teams, 2-3-win teams, the Cardinals, and then who'd they lose to after the Cardinals game?
The Steelers, or
yeah, they lost to
they lost Patriots last week to the Patriots. Yeah, and Terrell Austin is the defensive coordinator.
Terrell Austin, okay. Way off. So yeah, his name was Tony Hawk. Yeah, I'm right there with you. The Steelers, they seem like they're due for a win, but it also seems like the timing's just not right. They're not healthy.
Spags is on the Chiefs. Bill in the chat. Love it. Bill, cheers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bill, God, it's good to have you in here.
Yep.
All right. Rick.
Let's do it. I love that Kyle's just like preparing himself. He's got the poncho.
We've never lost a game that I was in the poncho for the predictions.
Let's go, dude. Let's go. Keep it rolling.
It's that time of year. The superstitions start coming out.
Absolutely.
All right. The Denver Broncos, they have a mission. They're going to go into Detroit, their third road game in a row. And this has been a tough stretch, but they're coming off a really good win against the Chargers. One where Justin Herbert did play. And now they got to go to Detroit, Detroit's coming off. Yeah, they got the win against the Saints 2 weeks ago, but you didn't feel good about the defense letting the Saints back into that game. And then Bears crushing them last week by like 20 or 13 points?
28-13. 15 points.
13, 15. So you got the Lions in a position where they're pissed off, backs against the wall, at home, primetime TV. Dan Campbell, we talked about this earlier. He coached underneath Sean Payton, and him and Sean Payton have a really, really strong relationship. And they asked him about that. They said, "Is there any more meaning to this game because of your relationship with Sean Payton?" He was like, "He's going to come in here and he's going to try to embarrass us." And we got to make sure that it doesn't happen, and it's not going to happen. And then he kind of left with this confidence, like almost like a guarantee, a win guarantee type of a vibe. which, like you mentioned in the what was the Lions Bears game?
Yeah.
You said that they kept going for it on fourth down, like they needed to feel like they were getting it all back.
Yeah.
This might be Dan Campbell's inexperience at the podium, guaranteeing a win. This might be like another going for it on fourth down type of approach, where Dan Campbell's like, "Oh my God, I gotta do something big and bold." But whereas on the other side, Sean Payton doesn't really get too high or too low. Like he hasn't been happy after a single win. You know what I mean? He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just too much to improve on to be happy."
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, there's some things that we like, but yeah." And you see how Dan Campbell like is all like screaming in the locker room. By the way, I'm a huge Dan Campbell guy, but you do see the wisdom of somebody older in Sean Payton. That is like, I'm seeing him win games because he's out coaching nearly every team he plays. And it's not even Russ. It's just the coaching. It's the decisions. It's
Yeah.
the scripting the first 15 plays of the game, scripting 7 plays to start the second half that are all just great plans to start the game. Denver's one of the strongest first drive teams in the NFL. And it's because he puts a beautiful script together. And we also just found out he takes the 60 touchdowns the NFL had, and he looks at every single touchdown from every position, and he looks at if there's any formations that he wants to take from it. He says around 20 of the 40 are just special plays by special receivers, so those don't do any good. He's like, but then there's like 18 where you see unique formations, and you're like, oh, maybe we could try that. And so it just shows how innovated. Why does that word sound so weird right now?
Innovative.
Yeah, I'm saying it right, but it sounds off.
Yeah.
But it just shows you that, I didn't even know coaches do that kind of shit. Like just studying, the league week to week. Sean is just, this is the result. This whole season is just the result of great coaching.
Yeah.
And why should I believe that it's going to end in Detroit against the Lions? And I don't know why I feel like that. But I felt like that about the Texans, and I was right about the Texans. And this feels like one that we don't have to win. If we lose this and win out, we're still 10-7, probably in the playoffs. But it doesn't matter if you get to the playoffs if you can't win a game. And if we want to have any kind of real confidence, it starts with winning this game. And I'll turn it to you. Can the Denver Broncos go to Detroit and beat this Lions team, who at any moment could just go back to the way they were playing in the beginning of the year?
Yeah, actually they can. I have the Broncos winning this game. And it's tough to look at this Lions team and look and predict a two-game losing streak, right? Because it's tough for the Lions to do that. And we one of the guys, Crafty, on here said that he's a great motivator, great guy in the locker room to get you going, but it's the coaching that really does kind of screw him at the end. And while I think he's going to be, during this entire week, or he has been in this entire week, just being like, we're not losing 2 in a row. We can beat them. We're the division leaders in the NFC North, blah, 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 blah. Like he's saying all that, getting his guys pumped. It's just when you get to those coaching decisions in the game is where Sean Payton has the edge, right? Like Jared Goff too has not looked great these last 3 to 4 weeks. He has looked rough. This team on the offense has looked rough too. I talked about it prior, right? Like it's the turnovers that's really killing them at the end, and the Bears were able to do that. They got the win against the Saints, but like you said, they let them back. This defense can be really good sometimes for the Lions, but it's like, but sometimes it's just like, how do you let up a play like that happen, right? How do you let them score 30 points? How do you let them score 21 points? How do you let a team led by Derek Carr, who's having probably one of the worst seasons in his career, almost come back to beat you guys? So I believe it is a lot of the coaching decisions, I would say. We talked about the fourth down things too, that Sean Payton has the edge over. Now with the Broncos, the reason I think they could win, one, they're at home, right? Like they are going to be at home in this game.
Well, Detroit's at home.
or I'm sorry, Detroit's at home. Okay. So then the Broncos, what they did against the Chargers, they got to the quarterback. They sacked them 6 times. They won the turnover battle. I think it was like 2-1 or 3-1, something like that, right? Russ was able to spread the love pretty much, and it's kind of something that he's been doing too, to Cortland Sutton, to Trotman. I mean, you had a rush score by Javonte Williams. They rushed for over 100 yards against the Chargers. Like, this team, the Denver Broncos, are just getting it together at the right time. 6 of their last 7 they've won, or 7 of their last 8, something like that, whatever it is now. So I don't think the Lions, with their struggles that they've had very recently, can, get this win against the Broncos. I think the Broncos are going to go into Detroit and take this dub, man. I really, really do. Because I think the Broncos could get the ball more on the defense than the Lions. Again, the defenses are very different in that sense too, where I think the Broncos could win the turnover battle, turn those into points, and not try to go overboard with the offensive play calling.
Oh my God, dude.
It's going to be a good game.
If we beat the Lions on primetime, in the last 3 weeks, Denver has the 3rd ranked defense points per game. They're giving up 13.7 points per game in the last 3 games.
Yeah, I can't see the Broncos losing this game, man, because they know what's on the line too. The Lions, I feel like I don't want to say like, oh, one team's like, yeah, it's fine, we're leading the division or anything like that, like kind of like resting on their laurels, if you will. But I just feel like the Broncos, the way they've been coached these last few weeks, are just like primed and ready to continue winning and to continue to get that playoff push going.
And the players believe. Which is like the most, to me, that's the most important thing. And this is the last thing I'll say, and we'll move on. But what me and Rick were talking about, Alex Singleton and Josie Jewell, our 2 linebackers, sat down with Zach Stevens on the DNVR podcast, and they were talking about the scenario where Denver goes to Miami and plays, and they were being dead serious. They were like, "Who says that we're not going to be at home for that playoff game?"
Yeah,
they're 1 game behind Kansas City.
That's the belief.
If Kansas City can lose 1 more game in Denver, this is the hardest remaining game. So if they could win this one, they have a good shot of finishing 11-6.
Yeah,
and then Kansas City, maybe they are the 4 seed, or they would be maybe even the 3 seed or the 2 seed. What would 11-6 buy you? Like,
in the AFC too, which is a very, very tough conference. I could see them being a 4 for sure with that division. And I could see them the 5 or 6 too, but you're going to see at one point in this game, they are going to be at Ford Field, one point, either in the 3rd or the 4th quarter, where that Detroit Lions crowd are just going to be like out of it. Like there's no energy. The energy is going to be taken out. You're going to probably see fans leaving. That's how that game is going to go on Saturday. Saturday night, guys. Remember, Saturday, we got 3 games. These are the 3 Saturday games we're talking about. So,
and I hope you're right. And it would just be icing on the cake if your prediction came true and then Kansas City somehow lost to the New England Patriots in Foxborough. As much as I'm not going to even entertain this, I'm going to entertain this. Bill Belichick at home, great at upsetting good teams. The Patriots are coming off of a really impressive upset, and they're utilizing Ezekiel Elliott. They're utilizing him so much more. They're utilizing him like how he was utilized in Dallas, and he's coming off a 29-point fantasy week. And he also said this week that he doesn't remember ever feeling this good this late in the season as he does right now. So Zeke's really healthy. They could have a good running game. Kansas City has offensive problems. Belichick's a defensive guy. I could see this being a close game. And right now, I'm going to say the reason the Patriots could win this game is not because they're a better team. It's because Patrick Mahomes is this year's MVP. Not most valuable player, most vulnerable player.
Ooh.
And I think that the Chiefs are a very vulnerable team right now. I feel like people can kind of smell the blood when they get around Kansas City right now, and you're getting everybody's best shot. I think Kansas City, I think they win this game, but I think there's definitely a real fear of losing during the entire game.
I know what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I just think this is one of those games that's like, don't overthink it in my head, right? Like I like, it's the Patriots.
Fuck.
Like, yeah, they came off a good win last week against the Steelers, right? But it was also the Steelers. Again, they were banged up too. This Kansas City defense is not really banged up. How the Steelers are, and this Kansas City defense is a much better defense too. Kyle's fucking writing it down. He's like, God damn it, throw that shit out. No, this one I just don't think is like, for me, is like a don't overthink it game. You know, there's games like that, especially late in the season, where we're like, I don't know, there's blah, 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 right? To me, this is like, the Chiefs are gonna win this game. We saw what happened 1 week after you saw tons of drops from their receivers. Last week, you saw the offsides that sparked controversy throughout the entire Chiefs locker room, from Andy Reid down to Patrick Mahomes to the handshake, all that stuff. I think this is one of those games where, just like the week after all those drops, they only dropped one after that. They're going to improve all around as a team against the Patriots. They're going to be in New England. Okay, sure. New England is, I don't know, to me, has never really been a scary place to play, even during the like Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era. To me, it was just never like, oh shit, they're going into New England. It's like, okay, sure. But I think they go into this game completely improved from all the shit that happened last week. And as far as New England, again, we talked about the good win against the Patriot, or the Steelers, in Pittsburgh, but I just don't think they have enough. This team has not shown anything, especially with Bailey Zappi right back there under center, or Mac Jones, or whoever the fuck you want to throw back there. It's just not a good team, man. The defense has been decent, and Ramondre Stevenson, I don't know if he is hurt or not, but you know, with Ezekiel Elliott, you talked about Ezekiel Elliott and how he feels. I don't know. I just don't trust this team like one bit.
Yeah, I don't blame you, and I'm probably definitely overthinking it. But the Bronco fan, I'm one game back, dude. I need that win. I got to manifest
I know.
it.
Yeah, I know. You're like, you gotta do what you can.
You think I want to be this way?
You think I want to say the Patriots are gonna get a dub? Or do you really think?
I mean, yeah, you're a
100%.
Chicago Bears fan, and this is great timing right here. Chicago Bears 5-8, not eliminated from the playoffs yet, and in the NFC, it's wide open. And on top of that, the Bears have won 2 in a row, including a dominating win over the Lions, a statement win. Like I don't think Denver even wins the way the Bears are going to win. So that means something. Even if it means nothing, it means something. So I think the Bears are playing inspired right now. Fields is looking like a quarterback that we can trust in the fantasy football world. We're in the playoffs, it's important. So I need Justin Fields to go off in this game, but I'm saying you can trust him in fantasy football. That translates to the real world. Like, he has been playing good football for the Bears. And with everyone the Browns currently have on injured reserve, this season should be over. All right. They lost their right tackle because of a knee injury. They've had a ton of injuries on Nick Chubb. The real issue in Sunday's matchup is whether Justin Fields can handle Cleveland's pressure. That's what they do. They got the number 1 ranked defense. Can Justin Fields handle the pressure that Cleveland is going to be bringing? Myles Garrett, especially.
Yeah, and the last time, I believe it was Fields' first start, was against the Browns. He got sacked like 6 times and over half of those were Myles Garrett alone. He got hit 9 times. He had an overall bad game against the Browns. Now that was under the Nagy era of head coaching and offensive play calling. But if I'm being honest, man, like it's not that much better with Getsy. Getsy has this thing where his opening drive, second, third drive look fucking great. And then after that, it's just like, oh, let me throw shit at the wall, see what sticks. You know what I mean? Like it's like screen after bad play call after let's run on 3rd and 8 to see if we can fool them into getting a first down. It's like, no, man, you really do have to take into consideration what this defense for Cleveland is doing and has done. I think it's going to be a tough day for the Bears, but the way the Bears defense has been playing is really good. Now, Joe Flacco had a very good game last week against the Jaguars, one in which he won, in which he threw 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards. And that's after about a year or so after not playing, right? Like he was on the Jets last year, and he played a couple games or so. I don't know if he can do the same thing he did last week against the Jaguars. But I think it is like a lot of these things that I'm saying, like I feel like my prediction is going to be based on a lot of stuff. Can the Bears get to Joe Flacco, who's basically a fucking statue back there, right? Like if they rush, if they can bring some pressure, cause those bad decisions by Flacco into turnovers, then the Bears are going to win. And I'm predicting the Bears to win, not really necessarily based on their offense. I'm actually basing it more on how the defense is played and how old and immobile Joe Flacco is. And really, like the Browns don't have an amazing set of weapons on their side on the offense. And like you said, they have just been beaten up this entire season. Deshaun Watson, Chubb, offensive line, wide receivers, right? I think the Bears defense is going to be very vital in whether or not they win. And I'm taking them to win this game against the Browns, even though they're in Cleveland, which in my opinion is still a tough place to play, regardless of record for the Browns. It's still a tough place to play. But I'm thinking that the Bears defense is going to be the reason the Bears win. The offense is going to struggle because of Myles Garrett, because of the defense, because of all the things you said. And I don't know if Justin Fields has this awesome game like he did against the Lions. I think he's going to struggle a lot. He's going to struggle getting the ball off. He's going to struggle getting the run game going. You know, even though Deontay Foreman and Khalil Herbert are very, very good running backs, I just think there's going to be a lot of struggle in that offense, and especially probably later into the game. I think the Bears, if they want to do anything offensively, it has to be in the first half. Like they have to get some points on the board in the first half, because later on in the game, I think is very important in terms of like, they're probably going to get stopped by that Cleveland Browns defense. So I'm taking the Bears to win this one against the Browns in Cleveland, but I don't think it's for the reasons that a lot of people are expecting, which is the offense. I think the defense for the Bears has to be pretty perfect in order to get this dub. They can continue to win the turnover game, which they've been doing. I think it's a recipe for success and a recipe for a dub. Bears win.
Okay, the reason I have the Bears winning out is because, not because Justin Fields, all the attention on Justin Fields, but the real reason the Bears are going to win out is because of these numbers. And I have this in my phone, and I was gonna show this to you. I was so excited. Okay. I'm not gonna tell you what these two categories what the title is. Okay. I'm just gonna say the Bears defense this season, giving up 27.3 points per game, pressure on 23% of plays, 9 takeaways. Okay, now I'll tell you. That's the Bears' first 8 games. Their last 5 games, defense giving up 18.2 points per game. So you go from needing 30 offensively to win to needing, hey, who gets to 21st wins, basically.
Yeah.
And then pressure, 29%, and 12 takeaways in 5 games versus the 9 in the 8. And those 5 games is since the Bears acquired Montez Sweat, who has come in, and he's a generational talent the Bears are so smart for acquiring him, and the Commanders are so dumb for letting him go, because he's the guy that you pay. Just like the Jets have Quentin Williams.
Yep.
Like, when you get a guy like that, you hang on to him. This guy's in his prime, and you're already seeing that he is making the kind of impact on the Bears defense where he could be the defensive player of the year next year for the Bears, and he could lead this defense in attitude, in production, in everything, and he could kind of shape the identity of this defense. I think Montez Sweat is proving, even immediately since he has been signed a Bear, that the impact that he is making for the Bears is already worth what they paid to get him.
100% agree with that. He has made an immediate difference. And again, that's one of the reasons why they have a ton of takeaways, is because of the pressure that he's been causing and the sacks he's been getting, and really a lot of people around him. You know, I talked about Gravon Dexter and Goku. There's a couple other guys that have benefited from teams really focusing on Sweat versus them. They're able to come around the corners. They're able to barrel through some tackles, get those sacks, cause those turnovers, get fumbles, get interceptions,
injure some people,
honestly. Yeah, really injure some people. And again, that's why I think the Bears are going to win, is the defense has been showing out. And while the offense has been good at, scoring points, I think they're going to have a tough time against this Browns defense. But I think the defense for the Bears is just going to be that much better, where they're going to get some turnovers in Cleveland territory that can turn into field goals, that could turn into touchdowns, that could turn into points at the end of the day.
Can't agree more.
Love it.
Rick, the Atlanta Falcons are going to Carolina to take on the 1-12 Carolina Panthers. The Falcons come in at this game with a 68.1 win probability. The NFC South is wide open, as we talk about every single week. No one has a winning record, and 3 teams are tied at 6 and 7 for the lead. The division could come down to the last week, but at this point, facing a Panthers team coming off their first divisional loss against the Bucs, I think Atlanta's in a good bounce back scenario here. I think they win this game. I don't know if they're going to win by a lot, but I think they win by between 1 or 3.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I mean, I've also got the Falcons winning. They're in Carolina, but that means absolutely jack shit against the Panthers. You could be away at the Panthers. You could be at the Panthers. Like, it doesn't really matter. This team in the Panthers is really just not good. Bryce, dog shit. I feel like I sound like a broken record talking about how Bryce Young has been, in a sense, screwed over by the front office and shit, who they got him as weapons. It's like, they got nobody, man. Their best guy is Thielen, and he's way past his prime. He had some good years in Minnesota, but he's just he's a veteran wide receiver who's kind of like your go-to when you're in a pickle, but that's not, and he's just their number one. It's like that. He's not a number one. Obviously they had to get rid of DJ Moore in order to draft Bryce Young, which would have been great for him. But the Bears got him. So thank you. But as far as the Falcons, taking that loss last week against the Bucs was tough, man. It was tough because they were well within, we're about to lead the division. We're about to have a winning record. We're about to get into the playoffs and host a playoff game if we can take this stuff. No, man. Instead, they just lose it. The Bucs are in the lead now. And even though I still got the Falcons winning, that's just a huge, huge bummer for them, because you talk about the weapons they have, and we've talked about the weapons they have on the offensive side of their ball. And it just doesn't seem like they can utilize them correctly. Desmond Ridder, while he's had some success, it's just, I don't know. He just does not make great decisions. And I feel like they're going to move on from him next year.
He's a stud.
He's a stud. He gets 300 yards, and you're like,
that is our brother. Those are my brothers.
Those are my brothers.
Yeah, dude. I'm with you. Not gonna harp on this one too much. Falcons should get the win.
Yeah.
The Battle of the Bays. Ooh. Green Bay versus Tampa Bay. 6-7 versus 6-7. Packers coming off a really bad loss to the Giants on Monday night. On a short week, I think a short week is perfect for the Packers to get the taste out of their mouth. I think they win at home against Tampa Bay. Game's in Lambeau. I think the Packers are going to actually score a good amount of points in this game. Even though Tampa Bay is ranked 13th in points per game. They're only allowing 20.8. But in their last 3, they're allowing 23.3. So not as good as of late. And they're a Florida team playing in frozen tundra. Come
on. It pains me to say it, but the Green Bay Packers are winning this one, especially at Lambeau, man. Like you said, Baker Mayfield and this Tampa Bay Bucs team coming off a great win. We just talked about how they came off that win against the Falcons and are number 1 in their division at 6-7. Doesn't mean much, but they're number 1 in their division in the NFC South. But the Green Bay Packers, like you said, short week. They want to take that loss and just be like, let's fucking get over it. Let's get this win, right now. And that's exactly what they're going to do at home, because Green Bay is definitely one of those places that's very tough to play, especially in the middle of December. And the Bucs, I don't think they have enough. Just for me personally, the Green Bay Packers are just the better team overall. Jordan Love, I think, is going to have a very good game against this Bucs defense.
A good decade.
A good what?
He's going to have a good decade.
He's
the guy.
Settle down. Don't do that to me, Kyle. Don't do that to me. I'll fucking call the Denver's loss right now. I swear to God.
No.
He looked bad. I mean, he didn't look terrible last week, but it's just he has not looked like he did against the Chiefs or like he has the couple weeks prior after that. But yeah, Packers at home in the frozen tundra in the Bay that is green against the 6-7 division leading Bucs team. Give me the Packers, man. Unfortunately, give me the Packers.
Damn, you hate the Packers.
Dude, I hate picking them to win. I hate it.
I saw the craziest thing. It was a picture.
No, you didn't.
It said through like the first 5 or 15 games of Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, they have the exact same record. They had the exact same amount of passing yards to the single digit.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And Jordan Love had a little bit better passer rating, and they had the exact same touchdown interceptions. Isn't that insane, dude?
It is. And I hate it because it's like history's just fucking repeating itself.
It's insane. It's almost like if you draft a quarterback and give him time to develop.
I've been saying that forever.
Yeah, but you have to have a quarterback in front.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But once the Bears get their guy, they're going to be like, we're going to just follow that model.
This is a formula for success, guys.
Trust me, we know better than no one.
I bet.
Yeah, but I'm right there with you. Our next game, the New York Jets taking on the Miami Dolphins. We just saw this game on Black Friday. This game just happened.
Yep.
But this time the Jets are coming off a really good win. Zach Wilson had a really impressive 301-yard game. They won 30-6 over the Texans, who, are a little depleted by injury. But so are the Dolphins, right? Tyreek Hill is battling an ankle injury. Mike McDaniel said today, basically, Tyreek is going to push himself as much as he can, but we are going to, gauge whether the risk of you further injuring it is going to happen if you play, or whether you're in the clear, and doctors are going to help with that. But Dolphins are basically saying, we don't care if we go to the playoffs as a 4 seed if you're healthy. What we don't want is to go as a 2 seed without you.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense. So this game is in Miami. Miami's coming off of a really ugly loss. They're going to want to win this game. But could the Jets upset the Dolphins? And before you say no, we said no about the Eagles, and the Jets upset the Eagles. And last week, nobody gave them a chance against the Texans, and they destroyed them. What do you think?
I'm going to go with no. I don't think the Jets got it in them, man. I really don't think the Jets have it in them. And the Dolphins are going boo this man. I don't want to call this game again because like an upset or something like that. This is to me another one of those like don't fucking overthink it. The thing that worries me is the Tyreek news, right? Because what happened in those few plays or in that time period where Tyreek was not in the game against the Titans. We talked about it. It's like their game plan or their scheme is like, it's like everywhere. It's like, oh shit, Tua now he's got time to throw, but nobody's open because you don't have double coverage on Tyreek Hill. And even if you do have double coverage on Tyreek Hill, you could still throw it to him. He's probably going to catch it. And on top of that, Jalen Waddle's open, your tight ends are open, fucking Devon Achan's open, Raheem Mostert in the dump off, it's just this whole scheme kind of falls apart when Tyreek is not in the game. And I do like the honesty, I guess I would say, from Mike McDaniel saying, hey, I'd rather go in as a 4 seed knowing I have a healthy Tyreek versus trying to get a 2 seed or a 1 seed or something like that.
Well, I was paraphrasing. He didn't say that, but he did say that, yeah, if there's a risk of further injuring him, like,
which is basically that, right?
Yeah.
Like, exactly. Yeah, no, 100%. So I like that part of it is coaches are like, sometimes they try to keep shit close to the chest and you're just like, dude, we know what's going on. Like, you don't want to go into the playoffs without this guy. We get it. But Mike McDaniel's a little bit more like, yeah, we're not going to further risk this guy's health if it means a two seed versus a 4 seed or a 5th seed or something like that, or not the playoffs at all. Regardless, I don't think the Jets have it in them, man. I as bad as that game was against the Titans last week for the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins know it's the Jets. The defense has been decent for the Jets, but it's very beatable. And I think they have the recipe for success to beat them, the Dolphins. And the Jets, Zach Wilson coming off a great game for sure. Can he do it 2 weeks in a row, man? He has done nothing prior to last week to show the NFL that he can do that even once. He did it once and we're like, oh shit. But can he do it twice? I have a hard time believing that. That offense is pretty damn anemic and that defense has holes that you can take advantage of. LOL. But you can totally do that for sure with the Jets. I'm taking the Dolphins to win. They're going to go 10-4 after this week.
That just happened. All right. And it's the moment that we have all been waiting for. Tommy
Tuds. Hey, Tommy Tuds.
Tommy football.
Tommy touchdowns over here with this cutlet.
Tommy fucking DeVito. Okay, it's a great story. I'm loving it. The Giants activated Tyrod Taylor from injured reserve, and I guess he's going to be the backup for Tyrod Taylor. This is really interesting because the Giants are kind of like the Bears, where the NFC is really weak and they both are coming off back-to-back wins. The Giants are suddenly one of the most fun teams to watch in the NFL because of the Tommy DeVito story. Which, when you're having a bad season, there's nothing better than at least having something to be happy about and something to make it fun and exciting. But is it enough to get them wins? I don't know. I didn't think that they were going to be able to beat the Packers, but they're playing good defense. Or Cherokee. I'm probably saying it wrong.
Okay.
Bill told us how to say it.
Okay.
And Thibodeau are playing very, very good football. I thought the defense looked really good against the Packers, and I think they're leaning more on Saquon and just making it kind of easy for Tommy DeVito. I
Mhm.
don't know, as teams get more film on him, if they're going to be able to shut down some of the short stuff and
Mhm.
make him throw downfield. As
Hell
long
yeah.
as they have a good running game, as long as they don't have a good running game,
Mhm.
or as long as they do have a good running game, they won't be in that situation. So I expect a heavy dose of running versus the Saints. And I had it pulled up here. Hold on one second. The Saints run defense. I wanted to see really quick. Here it is. Rushing yards allowed per game. Total scoring defense. Rushing defense. Here it is. So they are ranked. New Orleans is ranked. Damn, they're ranked 26th. So I do think you're going to get Saquon Barkley. They're giving up 131 rushing yards per game and 191 as average in their last 3. So they've been giving up almost 200 yards. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Giants. I think Saquon Barkley's going to have a big game, and the Giants are going to run the football. They're going to play good defense. And I think the Saints are going to do the complete opposite. They're going to try to throw the football too much. I think that the Giants maybe get 1 or 2 turnovers in this game. Derek Carr hasn't been doing great.
Mhm.
Everyone's saying Saints here. I'm going with the story. I'm going with the American dream. Tommy Thugs.
Tommy touchdowns, Tommy thuds,
Tommy touchdowns.
Mr. Chicken Cutlets, and I know Bill loves it because I'm going with the Giants too, man. I'm going with the Giants to take the dub against the Saints.
Yes.
You talk about their rushing defense. They're 13th overall in yardage, which is 321. I can't not go with Saquon Barkley, and when you need him, Tommy touchdowns. Tommy DeVito, when you need him, he can get that extra little oomph that you need to get those dubs because because look what he did last week when he was able to get the provocative when he was able to get the Giants downfield in order to win the game, like against the Packers. He was able to do that. So they had a heavy dose of running with Saquon as well, which got them points and whatnot. And I think the same thing is going to happen against the Saints. You mentioned that Derek Carr's not having a good season, one of his worst seasons of his career. I don't know where this offense is just not clicking, but Alvin Kamara seems to be the only thing going for this Saints team right now. Bill said, thanks, Kyle. Number of quarterbacks with 80% reception rate, 70 yards running, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions since 1950. 1 Tommy touchdowns, DeVito. I love it. You got to go with it.
It's such a funny
go
thing. Like every week we pull a new stat out. We're like first quarterback to have only 13 attempts, but a complete 11 of them for 200 yards. All the other ones that completed 11 were under 170. Or it's like, I feel like ever since because he started and it was like Tommy DeVito has more touchdown passes than the entire Giants. And then the second week it was like he has more touchdown passes than Kenny Pickett all season. And now I'm hearing that there's always a new one. And I love it. I love it. Like I want it to just get so obnoxious where he's in just one category. I want it to be Mahomes right here, Tom Brady maybe right there, and Tommy Tugs on top. I don't care what it is. First 10 starts, completion percentage, whatever. Let's make it happen.
I love it. And the New Orleans offense, they're like mid-tier across the board. So this defense for the Giants is playing better. So they're very mid. I think Giants got this, Bill. Giants get another dub.
Giants get the dub. Texans got to go to Houston. We talked about this one a little bit. The Texans are really banged up right now. This is a divisional game. Tennessee coming off a big win. I thought Will Levis looked really good. Texans got blown out by the Jets. No CJ Stroud. Well, I believe right now we don't know about his availability.
I think he hasn't practiced this week.
The problem is, and I didn't want to bring this up, but I have to, man. CJ Stroud's concussion was really, really bad, like last week. And it's because he had a concussion in the Broncos game. When he got up and he was stumbling and he was drunk, and like, if you've played football, you know what's going on right there.
Yeah.
That is what like a concussion is. It's like my dad's friend Kevin Walter, he talked about being in the NFL. Like he talks about what getting concussions in the NFL were like, and he's like, I didn't even know, like someone's talking to me and I'm like looking at them and I'm not even like responding.
Understanding, yeah.
And CJ Stroud totally looked fucked up, like on the eyeball test, and they put him back in the game, and he suffers another concussion. And you just hope everything's all right, because I think and I'm glad the media hasn't made a whole thing. I mean, maybe they should. I don't know. The doctors are the only ones that really know. But on camera, it looked like CJ Stroud should have been in concussion protocol for the Jets game. And now it's like, I would be shocked. Like, I don't think he should play in this game. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, the science behind it. Like, if you have one concussion and you suffer 3 within a 4-week period, is that worse than suffering 3 in a long period? It seems like it seems logical that you just don't want concussions in a short period of time.
Tua's a great example.
Yeah, Tua, exactly. So, I first off, CJ Stroud's having a great year, and he's the leader of this team. And without him, I'm not gonna pick the Texans in this spot. So if CJ Stroud is allowed to play in this game, you know what? I'm taking the Jets no matter what. I'm taking the Jets. I think this is a huge win. Or yeah, the Jets. I'm
thinking the last week, yeah.
Which I didn't take the Jets. But
same.
If I could do it all over again,
yeah,
I would have. So this week I'll do it. I'm going to take the Titans to continue with the underdog mentality. Mike Vrabel, Derrick Henry. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Titans on this one. He is still in concussion protocol. CJ Stroud is. So if he does play, it's going to be one of those like game time decision type of things. But I agree with you, man. Like, after what we saw against the Broncos, right? Like you said, he came up drunk, and I was like, well, they got guys on the field that said he's fine. Clearly, that may have not been the case, right? Like he may have just been a gamer and been like, hey, put me back in, coach. I'm good, right? And he's passing these tests on the sidelines, to get him back in. But that one against the Jets was bad. And for him to still be in, concussion protocol even through Thursday, kind of proves that to be true, right? So I don't think they should play him. Like you said, everything about CJ Stroud right now in the Texans is the Texans' future. He is the Texans' future. And they've got a ton of guys around him on that team that are going to help out that future for the Texans in the long term. So they really have to worry about this now. They shouldn't even be sniffing the playoffs, if we're being honest, right? Like this is a lot of things are going correctly. You got the right coach, you got the right quarterback, you got the right weapons in place. Defense is playing well. Like a lot of this stuff is aligning for them to even be mentioned in the wild card playoff race. So I think if you want to protect who you got and what you've got, you've really got to sit them against this game against the Titans, because the Titans defense can be pretty fucking brutal, especially with Vrabel, right? Like as a coach, like they can be pretty brutal, man. They'll get to the quarterback, bring them down, sack after hit, after, shit like that. So you don't want your CJ Stroud, quarterback of the future, franchise QB, guy who's going to lead you to the promised land eventually, for this to be a big reason why maybe in the future he doesn't play well. Maybe he plays scared against defense. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to fuck him up, basically is what I'm saying. Don't fuck him up. Just sit him. Even if he is in concussion protocol, he's a gamer. Sure, I get it. Everyone in the NFL is a fucking gamer. Everyone's a competitor. But you got to understand what you have when you have it. You got to sit him. And, if they do, which is what I hope they do, I got to take the Titans in this one after a very emotional win last week against a much better Dolphins team. Will Levis looked really damn good last week, and at home with Vrabel coaching, I think they're going to take this dub against the Texans. It's going to be tough without CJ Stroud for the Texans, but you got to take this loss. You can take this loss. It's fine. and the Titans really not anywhere near a wild card spot. They would take quite a lot of things to happen correctly to align for them to be in a wild card spot. So I'm taking the Titans at home, but doesn't really mean too much for the playoff picture in my head. But I think Will Levis has another good game, and he's looking like the future for Tennessee right now too.
Yeah, I mean, he went through, I think, 4 touchdowns his first game, and then he had 3 in the 3 games.
Yeah,
sandwiched, and
struggled.
Then he had that big game. So I'm with you, but hopefully he can build on that. This one shouldn't take much time at all. The 49ers going to Arizona. This is going to be a 49ers win. Cardinals are at home. I think maybe they give them like a sneaky punch early, but the 49ers are just too much to handle. They're going to pull away and win by 20.
Let me tell you why the Cardinals are going to win this game. No, I'm just kidding. The 49ers are going to win this game 100%, man. They're going to go 11-3. They're going to go 11-3 after week 15. They're going to be 11-3. They've already got their playoff clinched. So they're not really playing for anything other than, to try to get the number 1 seed and stay there, right? But I agree with you in terms of like the Arizona Cardinals can give them a little something that, kind of has you worried somewhere in the second quarter where you're like, oh shit, this Cardinals team, they're playing pretty good, and they get the ball back in the third quarter to start the third quarter or something like that, right? And it's like, oh shit. But then you shut the door. Brock Purdy shuts the door on him. CMC shuts the door on him. Kyle Shanahan, this entire 49ers team shuts the door on him. There's going to be a little bit of worry, but there's going to be a 49ers win, 11-3. There's really not much to say, like you said.
Yeah, and you took way more time than I anticipated. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
I'm already moving on to the next one.
That's going to be easy 49ers dub. I don't see any way that there could be any kind of upset there. The Washington Commanders playing the Rams. Now, the Rams, we talked about it, nearly pulled off an upset against the Ravens for their 4th consecutive victory if they would have won. So they are 3-1 in their last 4. The Rams came up short, but I think when you look at the type of football the Rams are playing right now, I think they're playing some of the best ball in the NFC, even though the record doesn't show it. The Ravens loss was 37-31. So even in a loss, they played like a playoff team who had a shot at a wild card berth. And I still think they're that team. The Rams have their moments where they play up and down to their competition, but I'm going to kind of ride with who they've been lately. And I think the Commanders might not be enough. Like the Commanders have fallen apart over the past month, really, when you think about it, since they traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat. I mean, that was kind of the beginning of their tanking. Sam Howell will keep the team in the game with his touchdown passes and his Eric Bieniemy's heavy offense. But overall, I'm taking the Rams to win this game.
Yeah, I'm also taking the Rams to win this game against the Commanders. The Commanders are coming off a bye, so that, it does favor the Commanders in terms of rest and shit like that. The Rams are just a better overall team, man. Their red zone scoring percentage as far as defense, it's like a 50-50 shot whether or not you get a touchdown. So that's, good enough for about 11th or 10th in the league, I believe, for the Rams defense. And then, their offense, it's not great overall, but in the last few weeks, what we've talked about is it's been clicking, man. Cooper Kupp, again, you got Cooper Kupp, you got Kyron Williams coming back, ripping off 100-yard rushing games and still catching the ball and still being able to be a weapon in the passing game. Cooper Kupp going for 100+ yards. Puka Nacua all season has just been very consistent for a rookie, right? Even early in the season when the Rams were not looking very good, like he was still getting 100+ yards a game, a touchdown here, breaking the receptions record, I believe, in the first few games or whatever it may have been. This offense has just been like, I don't know, just re-energized by something. And, I said it during our recap episode, I feel like it's Matthew Stafford just being like, this might be it for me, man. This might be it, right? Like it might be one of those situations. Who knows what his contract status is? I don't know it. But I'm taking the Rams against a very weak Commanders team. Again, we talked about how they got rid of all their defensive studs on the lines. Montez Sweat, Chris Young. You got injuries. You got rookies playing at cornerback, letting up touchdowns. It is just a recipe for disaster for the Commanders. And Sam Howell, his game prior to the bye week did not look great. Now he's going to take these couple weeks probably to try to, better his game and realize, like, I got Terry McLaurin, I got Brian Robinson. I got some weapons on this offense, and I've been throwing for 300 plus yards. It's just I got to have a game like that where I'm not turning the ball over and I'm getting rid of the ball faster, because this offensive line is not doing him any favors whatsoever. Again, we talked about how they need to invest in the offensive line this offseason for Howell, because that's their guy too. Kyle's just struggling. They need to invest in the offensive line for Sam Howell to continue to succeed, and because they've got weapons on the offense that they can get to the next level. They just need that help in the trenches. But unfortunately, it's not the offseason yet. They're going to lose this game against the Rams.
Yep, right there with you. All right. Dallas Cowboys going to Buffalo. And this is interesting because just a week ago, the Bills were underdogs playing Kansas City. Okay?
Yeah.
And now the Bills are the favorite. The Bills are coming in as a 4-point favorite. And I understand why. And I think I'm going with the Bills in this game. Cowboys are much better at home, 40 points a game.
Yeah.
They're
15 in a row at home.
15 in a row at home. So they got to go on the road. They got to go to Buffalo. So they're out of their dome. And when you look at what Buffalo's been doing, they, since firing what's his name?
The offensive guy. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
No, yeah, I was thinking of Ken Dorsey freaking out.
Dorsey.
But
yeah.
Since firing him, they have had like 20% increase in pre-snap motion. And they've gone back to putting the ball in Josh Allen's hands like all the time. Like on a 4th and 2, Josh Allen's running with it. And they're just relying on Josh Allen to kind of pull him out of this, and they're just giving him everything. And I think he's handling it really well. And I think this Bills team is good. And with the playoffs kind of on the line here, I think you're going to get a really good game. They just beat Kansas City. I think you can build off that. And it seems like the Cowboys are due for a loss. Why not in Buffalo?
Yeah, I was picking this as like my upset of the week as well, because they're going to be in Buffalo. That's going to be a tough place to play for the Cowboys. We talked about how the Tampa Bay Bucks going up to Green Bay is going to be just a tough place to play. Buffalo is a tough place to play, man. Bills Mafia, that snow, that weather, like Dak Prescott, for as much as he's getting MVP talk, and as well as CeeDee Lamb and Pollard and Brandon Cooks and all these guys are playing, like it's still going to be tough to play in Buffalo, man. Bill saying don't touch it. I would agree to an extent, but I've got the Bills winning this one. I think they, the Cowboys get punched in the mouth by this AFC team, and the AFC maybe continues to prove why it's tough to play in the AFC. It's tough to get a playoff spot in the AFC right now. I'm taking the Bills to win, man. And look at that, 50-50 really at the end of the day, 50-50 type of game they're calling. And that's exactly what I'm seeing. I'm giving the slight edge to the Bills. They know they know they need to get this dub against a very, very good Cowboys team to even think about playoffs moving forward.
Playoffs?
Playoffs?
You're talking about playoffs?
Playoffs?
I'm just wondering if we can win a game. Yeah, right there with you. And that's like the definition of a don't touch it, a 50-50 game. But yeah, you and I both going with the Bills. We'll see. The Ravens playing the Jaguars. Now, this game had me thinking really, really hard because
You're really hard when you're thinking about it?
No. I was no. I was like, okay, in one way you could say the Ravens have not been playing their best football, but they did come off a really good win. But the Chargers game before that was a little weird in the bye week. And I think the Ravens could lose pretty soon. But the Jaguars, I don't know how healthy Trevor Lawrence is. I mean, the Jags are coming off a bad loss where they lost to Cleveland like pretty bad. They didn't really have a chance in that game. It was Cleveland was winning the whole time. And this could be a playoff preview. The Ravens in Jacksonville to take on the Jags in prime time. They lost on Monday night on prime time just a couple of weeks ago when Trevor Lawrence went down with the ankle injury. That was a great game. That was Oh no, that was the Jake Browning. The Bengals game was the following week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the Jaguars kind of need to win a game, man. They're coming off back-to-back losses, both to AFC North teams. They got Lawrence battling with this ankle, and I think the Jags need to have a really good game, and this could be a playoff-type atmosphere. I'm taking Jacksonville at home.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. I guess is this kind of like I guess you're somewhat of a spoiler or not a upset kind of the week?
It's an upset.
Yeah. Okay. I got to go with the Ravens in this one. I think, you mentioned Trevor Lawrence's health, and we've mentioned the way that the Jags have been playing lately with or without Lawrence, really, right? So the Baltimore defense, they're like top 3, top 4 in a ton of categories. They're that good where even a Trevor Lawrence type of player may not make a difference against this defense. They're that good. You got Roquan Smith all over the field. You got them holding their opponents to, let's see, what is it? Points per game under 17, yards per game under 285. Like it's this defense is just so suffocating against NFL teams, and that's that they are in the NFC, right? So I think I've got the Ravens winning this one. I think I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson gets a rushing score and 2 touchdowns through the air. That's kind of what I'm seeing from this game. I don't really have too much on it other than the Ravens are going to win. The Jags are going to have 2 tough losses in a row.
Yeah. 3.
Oh, is it 3? Oh, yeah. The fucking game that Trevor Lawrence was out. Yeah, you're right.
All right. So our last game is Monday Night Football. The Philadelphia Eagles coming off 2 bad losses, but to really good teams. The Battle of the Birds. Yeah, I mean, they got blown out by the 49ers. They got blown out by Dallas. And in a way, it's like, okay, here's their opportunity to get right. But I'm not picking them to get right. I'm picking the Eagles to lose. I think Seattle's going to win. They played much closer with Dallas than the Eagles did, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's not really about that, though. It's about the game being in Seattle on primetime. It's going to be loud. Hostile environment with the playoffs on the line. People are more emotional when the playoffs are on the line, so they get louder.
Yeah.
It's going to be a playoff type atmosphere, I think. And more importantly, the Eagles have serious problems right now that there's no reason to believe that it's just going to solve itself on a trip across the entire country. This is a hard spot for the Eagles, and it doesn't change anything because I got Dallas losing to the Bills, so everything, we'll talk about what it all looks like here in a second, but I don't think it's a huge deal, but I do think the panicking is going to be insane but I don't think it's anything to worry about. You're still one game behind. So.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go the opposite of you. I'm actually taking the Eagles to win this one, and this is going to be my game of the week. Monday Night Football under the lights in Seattle. As much as I would love to have that energy of Seattle and all Washington to be like, we beat the fucking Eagles. And yes, the Eagles are kind of on a little shitty run right now, but it's still a dub against a top NFC team, right? Like, I would love to feel that energy in this area that I'm in. I just don't think the Seattle Seahawks are going to be able to get this one. Geno Smith has been playing pretty badly, and I think also, what is it? It's Drew Lock that played last week, right? For the Seahawks.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. So even if it is Geno Smith, they're struggling at quarterback, man. They're struggling at quarterback. DK's getting kicked out of games. He's getting into fights, which I feel like has been an entire season thing that DK
he's the Draymond Green.
Perfect example, Kyle. He is like that guy who just wants to get in a fight and try to get under your skin. But in doing so, you get kicked out of games. You get suspended. You get fines. You bring that entire like team morale in a sense down, man. Like whatever you're doing to try to get under their skin, it's not working, DK. You're one of the best receivers in the league. You broke the speed record on that one touchdown against the Cowboys like a couple weeks ago or whatever it was. Like he was zooming down that field and he was going so goddamn fast. It's like they need you on the field, man. They need you to get open. They need you to use your big fucking body, your wide frame, your 50-50 ball ability.
Dude, Dennis
to
Rodman.
win games. Yeah. That dude's tall, built, fast. Like
pink
what else
hair,
do you want?
piercings. I think Dennis Rodman is DK Metcalf's father, but they don't know.
I'd put money on that actually. Let's get a DNA test going. In terms of the Eagles, because again, I think Seattle's going to lose, and it sucks because I really do want them to make the playoffs. Again, just being in the city, or not in the city, but in the area, like it just kind of like you love that feeling. Last year when the Seattle Seahawks were in the playoffs, it was a sick feeling to be in the city at that point. But regardless, they're going to lose. I just think the Eagles. I think the Eagles, I almost want to say this is like a get right game for the Eagles. And it's still against a pretty tough opponent. Like you mentioned, they played tough against the Cowboys. It looked like it may be a win for the Seahawks at that point, right? Like they played them really, really well. But they kind of collapsed at the end. And I think the Eagles for Monday Night Football, for as good as the Seahawks have been against tough opponents, I think this is kind of a get right game for the Eagles. And Jalen Hurts has a very, very good game against the Seahawks, I think.
All right. And Rick taking the Eagles. I'm going with the Seahawks. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537, besides Illinois.
I have a problem.
Yeah, don't bet on that.
iPhone, Kyle's prediction.
Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. NJ, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, 1-800-9 with ID.
I love that.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, I can see everywhere you're coming from. Honestly, it's a bold prediction, and it's one of those things where it's like, just I'm going with the 12s. I'm going with the 12s.
I love it. I love it. I do.
There's no momentum for Philly right now, and it's like now you got to fly, But we'll see. I mean, if the Eagles win, of course, it's like, okay, not so hot of a take.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, the Eagles need to get right. So we'll see if they can do it there on Monday night. We'll be streaming that game as always. And those are the way our Week 14 predictions go.
Mm-hmm. All right, Kyle. We did our predictions. We know what the records are going to be. And if our predictions are correct, we know what those records are going to look like. So let's go into what our playoff picture is going to look like.
Predictions of our playoff. All right.
That's how you know it's a 2-man show right now.
It's our predictions.
I love the little hints here. You're like, go fucking play it.
Good. It's one of my favorite drops we got. All right, so the
Let's do
Ravens
it.
are going to be 10-4. They're going to stay at the number 1 seed, even with the loss, because the Dolphins are going to lose, and they're going to drop to 9-5. Dolphins are losing to who are the Dolphins playing again?
The Dolphins are going to be playing the motherfucking Jets. Yeah.
Okay, and then if it's possible that maybe the Dolphins and Ravens would be tied, but I think the Ravens have the tiebreaker. Chiefs are going to win. They're going to move up to 9-5, but they're going to jump the Dolphins if the Dolphins lose. They're going to jump the Dolphins at 2 because the Chiefs beat the Dolphins in Germany. So you would have, under my predictions, Ravens number 1, Chiefs number 2, Dolphins at 3. The Jags will stay at 4, and they're gonna lose as. Oh, okay. They're gonna win and move to 9-6, so they stay at 4. And then I got the Browns winning, moving to 9-5.
I think you had the Browns losing.
Yeah, no. The Browns losing, so going to 8-6, and the Colts winning, going to 8-6 as well. And then the Steelers are 7-6. I had them losing, so they're going to go to 7-7. But with the Broncos win, they'll be 8-6. So Denver jumps into the playoff picture for the first time this year. After starting 1-5, Denver will be either the 7 or 6 seed, and every team in the playoffs, at worst, will have a record of 8-6 or higher. 8-5, 8-6, 8-6 or 9-5. But all your 7-win teams, so the Texans, the Steelers, the Bills, if they don't take care of business against the Cowboys, they're all going to be your 7-win teams. I got all of them following, even though I got the Bills winning and going to 8-6. Denver already beat Buffalo, so they got the tiebreaker. And then the NFC, I got the 49ers going to 11-3. They're going to stay the 1 seed. Nothing changed. Got Cowboys and Eagles both losing, so nothing's going to change. The Cowboys will stay at number 2, and the Eagles will stay at the 5 seed. The Lions losing takes them to 9-5, but still winning that division right now, number 3 seed. And then the Bucks losing drops them down to 6, and the Bucks. The Bucks losing makes them 6-8.
Yeah.
And then Atlanta winning against Carolina makes them 7-7. So I think Atlanta is going to swap out with Tampa. And then the only remaining seeds are the 6 and 7 seed. The Vikings, I think, lose. And I got the Packers winning. So the Vikings and Packers will both be 7-7. But if my predictions are true, then the Rams, Seattle, and Atlanta are all going to win. So you're going to have the Rams, Seattle, Atlanta, Vikings, and Packers all at 7-7. Now, which 2 get to go in? I will assume that the Packers being 6-7 and being in the playoffs right now over the 6-7 Seattle, over the 6-7 Rams, I'm going to assume they have the tiebreaker. So I'm saying that the Vikings might be the only team that fall. I don't know who the Vikings have the tiebreaker over. The Packers are going to stay in, but the Vikings may get swapped out with the Rams, Seattle, or the Rams or Seattle, depending on the tiebreaker.
And the AFC for me too is like you said, an 8-6, like all around, because I've got the Ravens beating the Jaguars, which would put the Jaguars at 8-6, and the Ravens, they're going to be 11-3. They're really, there's not an issue there with the Ravens. The thing with the Jaguars is they're 8-6 if they lose. If the Colts win, which I do have them winning, they move to 8-6. Now the question there becomes, do the Colts take the division or do they stay at a wild card? Kind of like the Eagles and the Cowboys, right? Like who has what win over who? That's where kind of I'm sitting at. So regardless, I believe both of those teams are going to be in it. Now, I've got the Browns losing and I've got the Steelers losing, which puts the Browns at 8-6, the Steelers at 7-7. The Texans losing, which would put them at 7-7, the Broncos winning and the Bengals winning and the Bills winning, which would put all three of them at 8-6. The question at that point becomes, if the Browns are in it and the Colts or the Jaguars are still in it, which one of those teams jumps into the wild card? Is it the Broncos? Is it the Bengals? Is it the Bills? Because really, those are the only teams right now at an 8-6 record, depending on the tiebreakers, depending on who's got what, that's going to jump
head.
Final spot. Head to head. Yes, exactly. So the AFC to me is just still like a big clusterfuck of teams with winning records. But we don't know where their spot is because
we do have the tiebreaker over the Browns because we beat them 3 weeks ago, and we beat the Bills as well.
Oh, okay. So then
we have it over the Bengals as well too.
Okay, so then it would be the Broncos in along with the well, at that point,
Texans are the only team ahead of us. But if you have them losing and us winning, we're going to have a better record.
You're going to jump ahead of them, and so are the Bengals and the Bills. Now, if you have the tiebreaker over the Bills, the Bengals, and the Browns,
which we do,
then the Broncos are either 5th or 6th, depending on the Jags and the Colts. The Broncos are 5th or 6th seed, and the 7th seed goes to either the Browns, the Bengals, or the Bills. One of those teams, the triple Bs, if you will. So if all the predictions go to plan, Broncos are in the playoffs at the end of this week. Broncos are in the wild card at the end of this week, along with a couple others from either the AFC North or the AFC South or the AFC East with the Bills there.
It's funny you say that because there's a website called The Sporting News, and at the very bottom, it does simulated 1,000 times, and it says what by the end of the season your record will be.
Yeah,
and it says your chances of getting into the playoffs. So it says the Chiefs will be 11-6, a 97% chance of winning the division, even though they have a 1-game lead. And the Broncos will be 9-8, and they're going to lose two of their last 4, and they're going to end the season 9-8, and they only have a 40% chance of making the wild card and a 2% chance of winning the division. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, I don't know about that. 1,000 simulations, like the simulations are the simulations. I just
why?
It's like what we talked about with Brandon Staley. It's like, yeah, you could use all the numbers in the world, but situational football, does it really take into account this or that, or that or the other? To me, and this isn't just because I'm saying it because you're a Broncos fan and we're doing this show, but it certainly does help. I think the Broncos, with the way they've been playing and the fact that they've got the tiebreaker over, or the head-to-head over 3 of the 4 teams right now that are in the hunt for the wild card, I think that gives them an even better chance than 40% to make the playoffs in a wild card position. The division, okay, I can understand that, but it really does depend if the Chiefs team, which historically has not, collapses within these last few weeks. That's really what matters there, right? Is like, can they collapse enough to where the Broncos can swoop in and take the AFC West division crown? That's really all. It kind of does depend on whether the Chiefs, like, it's up to the Chiefs whether or not they win the division. And history is kind of what we're using, right? In a sense, they haven't collapsed. They don't collapse. They're actually pretty damn good. And sometimes when we say they're looking like shit, they go on and win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of the Chiefs, the way they've been playing. But if the Broncos have the head-to-head and the Texans without CJ Stroud looking like they're going to go 7-7, that's just a plus for the Broncos to continue into that wild card race for a playoff spot.
And just a reminder for everybody this time of year. So the scenarios for the tiebreaker is head-to-head, number 1, if applicable. If you haven't played the team you're trying to see if you got the tiebreaker, it's going to be best 1 loss tied percentage in games played within the conference. So if you're an AFC team, your record in the AFC against AFC opponents versus somebody else's.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, best win-loss percentage in common games, minimum of 4. Strength of victory in all games. Now we're talking about points for, points against, point differential. Number 5, strength of schedule in all of games. Number 6, best combined ranking among conference teams in points scored and points allowed.
Oh, wow.
Number 7, best combined ranking among all team in points scored and points total allowed.
Jesus
I feel like it's
Christ.
repeating. Number 8, best net points in conference games. Number 9, best net points in all games. Number 10, best net touchdowns in all games. And number 11, if it comes down to it, a coin toss.
Wow. Reminds me of Friday Night Lights, right? When they're talking about like which 2 of the 3 teams are going to make it in.
That's how I've been. Dude, that feeling where I was like, every time something bad happens, I'm like, that's what Mitchell is saying. The quarterback, where he's like, I feel like we're cursed. And that's why right before they flipped the coin toss, he's like, there ain't no curses.
There ain't no curses. Yeah.
Dude, I'm getting
awesome.
chills, man, because that's how I feel like even going into this Lions game. Like,
I feel that. So for me, as far as the NFC, this gets a little tricky other than the 49ers. Now the Cowboys, I've got the Cowboys and the Eagles actually switching spots. The Cowboys, I've got them losing to the Bills, switching spots with the Eagles, who are going to beat the Seahawks. So that gives them the 1 game advantage in the division. The Eagles go into the number 2 seed versus now the Cowboys go to the number 5 seed, right? So if that happens, that's how that plays out. The Lions, I got them losing against the Broncos, but fortunately for them, the Vikings are also losing. And even if the Packers win, the Packers are only 7-7. So the Lions still have about a 2-game lead in the division there. So their spot really shouldn't change from the number 3. The Bucks, 6-7, and they're first in the NFC South. I've got the Falcons winning, and I've got the Bucks losing, which puts them at 6-8, and which would put a win for the Falcons at 7-7. They switch spots. Now the Bucks are probably outside looking in of even a wild card. And now
the Bears win out, they have a 59% chance of making the playoffs.
Stop! Don't do this to me.
I just punched the numbers in. I'm sending it to you right now.
Sick. The Packers with the win would move to 7-7, which, if the Vikings lose like I'm predicting, would put them in a tie there. Now, the Rams winning would also put them at 7-7, which would put them in a tie there. The Seahawks I got losing, no worries. Falcons, Saints all losing. Giants winning, that doesn't matter really. So it'd be between the Rams, the Packers, and the Vikings. I don't know the head-to-heads there between those 3 teams, but if I remember correctly, I think the Packers have beaten the Vikings. So I think that head-to-head matchup would propel the Packers into the 6 seed to the second wild card position. And then at that point, it would be the Rams versus the Vikings, either head-to-head or strength of schedule, points for, things like that. So either way, as of now, the 6th, 7th, the second and third wild card spots are going to be between 2 NFC North teams or the Rams, who are in the NFC West. So not too much movement, really, when you look at the top 5.
The Packers beat the Rams, but the Vikings beat the Packers.
Oh, so the Vikings beat the Packers. I wonder who
the Packers play the Vikings in. They play the
17?
Bucks, Panthers, then the Vikings.
Oh, so week 8.
17, then the Bears week 8.
17, then the Bears. I was like, no, the Bears play them. Okay, so that's going to be a big game as well.
But if the Bears win out, like they got the Packers, Falcons, Cardinals. You're saying this is your last rough game. So if you guys win out, it's saying that you're going to finish 9-8, and you would have a 59% chance of making the playoffs.
We do. So we would be split with the Packers. We would be split with the Vikings, and we've beaten the Detroit Lions twice. So that's the only thing.
Once. You split with the Lions. You should have beat them twice.
Split the Lions. Yeah, you're right. So they're at the end of it, if that is what happens, we're 3-3 versus the division. And it seems to me like the Vikings may not make it though. I can't see
the
them.
Vikings are going to lose out.
Yeah, with their quarterback situation, I don't see that. So the Packers thing might be the only thing that kind of stands in the way of the Bears. Like the Bears, if that Week 18 matchup against the Packers really determines their playoff spot, depending on like, do they have to score? Well, because then
They're
the
pretty
division
much
record
going to the playoffs if they beat Cleveland.
But the division record, I think at that point matters, right? Because if the head-to-head is split.
Yeah, but they have a 3-3 division record. The Lions are 2-2. The Vikings are 2-1. So the Packers beating the Vikings would move the Packers to 3-3 and the Vikings to 2-2. So every team in that division is 500 basically.
Wow.
And then it would go
This is looking like a Week 18, baby.
And then it would go to conference games.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if the Bears win that one.
If Denver beats the Lions, we've swept the entire North, the NFC North.
As you guys should.
But dude, you're in it. Like
it's very much a possibility. Yeah,
Montez Sweat, Justin Fields, Eberflus.
They're 13th right now. I almost don't want them to make it, but I love playoff football that much where I don't even give a shit if they make it. You know what I mean? Like if they make it, sick. If you get in, let's go.
Dude, that's the lottery. Just getting a ticket. Like
it really is. So obviously anything can happen. The Giants are playing really well. The Saints, the Falcons, and the Bucks, it's whoever wins the division is getting in, right? The Seahawks fall from grace, man. That one's tough to swallow, I'm sure, for Seattle. But I just can't see them get into the wild card, especially with the Rams, the way they've been playing. So, oh God, it really, again, it depends on a lot of stuff, but right now it's between the Rams, the Packers, and the Vikings in terms of Week 15, this very moment, how the Week 15 record plays out. It's between one of those, right? Because if the Vikings have the head-to-head over the Packers, but the Packers have the head-to-head over the Rams, and the Rams, blah, blah, blah. Like, it really is between those three teams for the last two wild card spots because the NFC East, guaranteed, two teams are going to the playoffs from there.
Guaranteed?
Definitely.
Definitely.
I love this, man. I love talking playoffs, like who's getting in, who's got the head-to-head, because if I was part of the NFL that was like, you need to figure this out, I'd be like, go fuck yourself, dude. Just fuck all this like points for, combined points for, head-to-head
it's going to be messy. It's going to be awesome, dude. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Colts, the Browns, and the Texans will be scratching and clawing, trying to, look at what each other's record is and what everyone's doing. Bills, Broncos, and Bengals are all one game out of the playoffs right now. So this is it, man. This is it.
Dude, could you imagine both the Broncos and Bears in the playoffs?
And they go to the Super Bowl.
Oh, shit. We would be at each other's throats, dude.
I don't even know. Like,
I don't know how I could fathom that.
I don't know if I could stream a game like that. I don't know if I could watch the Broncos in the Super Bowl.
We'd have to, but
I feel like it would become secondary to the
this is what would happen. So in our dream scenario, everybody who's watching, the Bears and the Broncos are the AFC and the NFC representatives for the Super Bowl. In this scenario, Kyle, me and you are streaming this game. We would need someone else from Vegas. That would be fucking sick. First of all, we would need someone else to handle the comments and the things like that, because we would be so laser focused on the game. We would be so laser focused. We'd have zero time for the comments, but our reactions to every little second, every little play would be outstanding for the podcast.
Oh gosh, dude.
Just thinking about it, I'm like, ooh.
I know. We got a one game at a time. I'm telling you, if you guys win out and we win out, at the very little, the bare minimum, we'll probably 80% chance we're both in the playoffs. And it's only 4 games. It's not like you're like, win out. You got easy games coming up. So,
and dude, this podcast in its second season would have both of us in the playoffs. Like, that's just such a sick thing to think about.
The 2 worst teams in the NFL
a year ago
to the playoffs in 1 year. And by the way, we both started 1-5.
Yep. Yeah. Oh my God, you're right, dude. Wow.
Weren't the Bears 1-5?
I think they were. Yeah, I think they were 1-5 or something. They started off. Yeah, they started off terrible. No, I don't think we started off 1-5. Didn't we? Because
you kind
the
of
Broncos
won 1, lost 1, won 1, lost 1.
No, because the Broncos, you guys beat us week 4, right? Week 4, week 5.
Yeah, week 4.
And that was your first win.
Yes, we were 1-4 at that point.
And we had lost to the Packers. And I believe week 2 we won. I just can't remember.
Okay, so week 1, you were right about the Packers.
Oh yeah, we lost bad.
30-20. And then week 2, you lost to the Bucks, and then the Chiefs, and then the Broncos.
We went 0-4. Yeah.
We went 0-4.
And then week 5,
beat the Commanders.
The Commanders Thursday night.
I didn't realize that was the first win of the season at the time.
Yeah.
So you were 1-5.
Yep.
Because then you lost to the Vikings.
Yep. 1-5.
1-5 right there. So you'd have 2 teams in the playoffs that were 1-5, something that's only happened like 3 times in history.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Dude.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't even know what's going on. This season is ridiculous, but doesn't it make the Bears game way more exciting knowing that, like, because it's one thing if you're like, yeah, if we win out, we have a 30% chance. You're like, if we win out, we're
60. We're looking at 60.
We're like more likely to be in, and you only got 4 more games. So,
and I think the craziest part of it all is if that were to happen, if the Bears win out and everything goes right and they get a 7 or a 6 seed, whatever it is in the wild card, we not only make the playoffs, but we have the number 1 overall pick in the next draft because of the Panthers. Like, what? What?
Harrison.
Like, that's just crazy. And the value is something I heard earlier today. The value for that number 1 pick in this next draft because of the talent is worth 3 number 1 overall or 3 first round picks. The one in this year's draft, the one in next year's draft, and the one in 2026. Wow.
I mean,
wow.
Maybe at least 2 though. But you're definitely getting at least 2 first rounders and then maybe like a second or a high pick. 3
I mean, you got Caleb Williams, Drake Mays, Marvin Harrison Jr. You got a lot of talent in this draft specifically. Oh, 100%. But I think because I mean, look at what the Panthers did, right? Like they picked the wrong quarterback. It seems like there's still time. So
the problem you're going to run into is that teams are going to know that if you're willing to trade the pick for 3 firsts, that you're comfortable with Justin Fields. And then once they know that, it's like, okay, don't trade with us. We know you're not taking a quarterback. We'll stay at 3.
Yeah, that might be an issue. Yeah.
So the Bears might have to do a little bit of bluffing and acting like they don't want to trade that pick. So don't be shocked if like the first couple of weeks or months, you don't hear anything about that pick because they don't want to come out and be like, we're sticking with Fields.
Yeah.
They want to kind of keep that close to the chest.
And obviously the other downside of that is, you make the playoffs as the Bears, right? And you get maybe a mid to late round pick, right? If you trade that first round pick, do you get another solid offensive lineman or defensive lineman that you can trust that you can insert right away? It's like, oh shit, which is one of the reasons where I'm like, to be honest, man, like I want to build through the draft where in the future, this isn't an issue anymore. You know what I mean? So I almost do want to make the playoffs because it would be exciting, not only for this podcast, but as a Bears fan, it would be super exciting. The content we get out of it would be dope. But also just like the future of the Bears franchise and my happiness really does depend on who they draft.
When Denver had Von Miller, they brought in DeMarcus Ware to coach him up and train him to be a leader. So if I were the Bears, I would go like I would trade back that first pick, and I would go 2 picks in the top 10. I would go offensive line, or
Offensive line.
offensive line, and then second tight end, like a really good tight end.
Well, we got Cole Kmet. I think we're fine tight end wise.
Yeah, but you can run dual tight ends.
I mean, that would be fucking sick.
Like a stud, like the best tight end,
like
available.
Gronk and Hernandez were for the Patriots.
Yeah, something like that. And then I would try to bring in a veteran to the defense, somebody that could like show the way. I'm a veteran. I got a couple more years left, and I want to win a Super Bowl. And then all of a sudden, you could have him training up Montez Sweat. You add a couple pieces in the draft. Dude, I don't think the Bears are far away. And if they do win out, Justin Fields is definitely going to be having the entire Chicago area thinking that they're not far from a Super Bowl, and kind of hitting themselves that they got off to such a shitty start.
Yes.
Because if they didn't do that, and that, like, we're all us 1-5 teams, Bill, we all at this point of the year when we're on winning streaks, you both have won 2 in a row. I got 6 of the last 7. All you can think about is, God, why did we start in such a hole?
Yeah, 100%. So it's different, but kind of like what Bill's saying, we're all more alike than we realize.
Yep. Behind the surface, we're all just sad fans.
we're all fans that don't root for the Chiefs or the Patriots or the fucking Eagles or the Cowboys, things like that. So, one of the reasons I enjoy talking about playoffs is because anything can happen, especially with the added wild card bonus there. So
you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
That's exactly what I feel like, dude. Oh, man, I love it. All right, Kyle, great talk about the playoff picture and what it could look like at the end of the year, but what more or less what we were talking about is what it's going to look like after week 15. But let's end it off with the chives, Kyle. What chives do you have for everybody watching here? What do you got?
All right. So we were talking about how we wanted to bring in more women fans on the show. So shout out to Christina for coming on the show. And I'm going to kind of tie in my chives here with this. Okay. Colts. You guys know the Walter Payton Man of the Year is the most prestigious award anyone can win. That's why Russell Wilson wears that patch that looks like a Marvel superhero on his jersey. People are like, what is that? What is that? That's when you win it for the whole NFL, Walter Payton Man of the Year. And it's like the most incredible award you can win. And every team nominates one player per year, and then they vote on who made the biggest difference. But everybody that's voted is really a winner. Well, the Colts Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, Zaire Franklin, driven to help empower young women. From the moment Zaire Franklin was selected by the Colts in the 7th round of the 2018 NFL Draft, he has looked for an opportunity to give back. Now, for 4 years after starting a foundation, Shelley's Angels, that works to help empower young women in his native Philadelphia area, the linebacker has been named the Colts Walter Payton Man of the Year. Nice. And it kind of goes on about the prestigious honor, but then he talked about it a little bit. He said, I've done a lot of stuff in the community, and everyone says they don't do it for the awards, but it's true. I really want to help kids and people in the community. It felt great to know I was getting the recognition and what being the Colts Man of the Year nominee will do for the organization, and the impact we'll be able to have on other people is amazing. Shelley's Angels, named after Franklin's late mother and created to honor her, and his grandmother, 2 strong women who raised him, offers young women the opportunities and resources to help build self-esteem and become equipped to eventually enter the professional workforce. As professional athletes, I think it's easy for us to host a football camp. It's easy for us to go to sports teams and motivate them and inspire them, because just our presence is an inspiration to those guys, he said. Sometimes the young women are the group that's the most overlooked.
Love that.
And he said, man, I I always love, like, whenever you find these Walter Payton Man of the Year, the thing that they're in there for is usually something that molded and shaped them. Like, he was raised by his grandmother and his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Bowles, our left tackle, he was nominated for us. He goes to prisons and like is a prison mentor to people in juvie, and he was in and out of juvie growing up. So you see like these kind of everybody finds the way they want to make an impact the way somebody impacted them. That's like the definition of giving back. So I wanted to shout out Zaire Franklin for Ginger's Colts for being one hell of a man, but not just any man, the Walton Payton Man of the Year.
Oh yeah, give it up for that. Love that. And you're right. You know, like people take a lot of inspiration from their own lives, and it's something that I think I would do as well. You know, if I ever do get in a position where I can help others, where I've helped myself enough that I, you know, can help other people in similar situations as myself, because it's a great feeling. Like it's one of those things where you see on TV, you see reality TV shows where there's people helping other people, and it gives you that really like good feeling inside. And you're just like, it's not even something I want to like necessarily broadcast to the world, but it's just, I want to help this person because I needed help. I got help, and now I want to return the favor to somebody else. So good on them. That was a great chives, Kyle. Bill said good chives, Kyle, as well.
Hell yeah.
Bill won a game ball from Justin Puke watching his YouTube show. That's awesome,
What?
Bill. Congratulations. Let's go. We got all sorts of shit going on.
We're gonna auction it on the Only Football channel.
Yeah, Bill, just send that to us.
No,
and
I
we'll
actually
take care of
have
that.
Derek Wolf signed ball, and I wouldn't auction it. I will never say never. For the right cause, I would auction it. Which that's another thing, dude. You said if we get that, we're gonna grow to the point where we're gonna have these opportunities. And I see some of the stuff Grassi does, not just 30 for 30, but raising $500,000 in like 12 hours for different causes. Like we're going to get to be able to, you know, hopefully be a blessing for people. And yeah, there might be like some auctions and stuff like that. Who knows what's down the road for us?
Yeah. And speaking of Grassi, Bill saying that his stream is this Saturday, goes to an autism charity. Always a good time. Always a good time for that stuff. So
I'll definitely tune in.
For sure. Great chives, Kyle. Great episode
during the Broncos
today.
game. Never mind.
I think it's like a pretty long stream, so it might be one of those like fundraising things.
I'll hop in.
We'll probably hop in. But great episode today, Kyle. Great chives, great everything. We touched on a lot. Obviously, the predictions, the playoff picture, the way that looks, and it's just even though football, the season is just ending is nearing the end of it. This is where it gets the most exciting, where you really start to be like, God, this football season was awesome. And then obviously it ends with the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year. But we're enjoying ourselves, obviously talking about the playoff picture, just talking football. So we're having a good time. And if you want to continue watching us, have a good time, make sure to go follow us on X. You can follow me at And Now Rick. And you could follow the Only Football Podcast at Only Football KR. Kyle, where can they follow you?
You can find me at FTBLONLYPODCAST, Football Only Podcast. And you can check the comments for the link of the entire article of the Walter Payton Man of the Year, because it goes on to really great details I didn't want to brush over, but it talks about how the rewarding part is he sees these, you know, girls in middle school, and then he sees them, you know, 2 years later, and they're confident and full of life, and they go on field trips, dude. It's actually really, really cool. That's definitely awesome. Worth a read. So link is in the comments.
Go check it out, everybody. And as always, thank you to everybody who's tuning in, whether while we're doing it live or afterwards. If you're seeing this after the fact, we always appreciate every view, every like, every comment, and every subscription that you guys do to the Only Football Podcast. We're making some changes. We're moving forward. We're getting bigger, like Kyle said. And yeah, it's just up from here, and it's nothing but great things from here on out. So we will see you guys next time. Again, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for all the I guess what's the word I'm looking for? All the interactions that you give us.
Yep, just like you said, it's getting bigger and it's going up. So definitely tune in.
We're a grower. We're not a shower. All right, Kyle. Great episode, brother. It's always a good time. I'll see you next time.
All right. See y'all soon.